Okay, here's the Audacity demo. First thing we can do when we download Audacity, if we're recording with the mic, just check that the correct mic is here on the drop-down menu. This is a blue snowball, so I'm clicking that. If I clicked the Realtek one, that's the laptop mic. So I want blue snowball. Okay, we're going to start with recording our voices. So good way to do it. If you're at home recording with your mic, have your script on one side of the screen, and then you can record on the other side of the screen so you can read and record at the same time. So let's just pretend I'm recording off a script. I'm just going to make things up. Hit the record button. It's good to leave a few seconds after hitting record before you talk, and then a few seconds after. So this is what it should sound like. This is Mr. S's podcast. I'm going to be talking about copyright today. That was a purpose thump. And then you can press space to stop recording. So half of that's good, half of it's not. To replay it, you can just hit it at the start and hit play again. This is Mr. S's podcast. I'm going to be talking about copyright today. That was a Okay, so we can see that this here is all stuff that we don't want. So delete. If you're recording with the mic, best thing you can do is just record a bit and then listen to it. If it's good, record the next bit. And you can do that in paragraphs, see how far you get. Don't need this bit at the start either, so I'm highlighting it and deleting it. This is Mr. S's podcast. Okay, gonna do the alphabet now. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I think there was a thump in there. Anyway, then you can delete that bit. I think when you guys are doing it at home, every time you record, it might put itself in its own layer. Okay, we've got our 6 main tools up here where my mouse is. This first one is the selection tool. That's the one we've been using. We can just select bits and we can listen back to those bits that are selected. So if I hit play now, only that selection will play. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah, there was a thump in there, so I would have to record that again. Another tool is the time shift tool here, which is the arrow left and right. This lets us move our recording. So if we had multiple layers, which we should have if you do it at home, you'll be able to just move them left and right and rearrange them. We've got a zoom tool, so we can zoom in. See how there's a plus in the middle of the magnifier? If you hold shift, that plus turns into a minus and we can zoom out. So normally it zooms in, hold shift and click zoom out. Okay, all right. Next thing we're going to do is put some background music in. So we've got all our music clips here. You might have your recordings here if you take them from your phone. So I want to put some music in. So I'm going to get my music track, which is this way, .mp3. Just drag it on, and it's placed on a new track. So then when we go back to the start of our clip, this is right today. Sorry, just going to stop. Selection tool. You can just click this one here to go to the start, and then play. This is Mr. S's podcast. I'm going to be talking about copyright today. Yeah, that's way too loud. Clearly. So what we want to do is, we're going to start by adjusting the volume of the bottom track here. And that's just done where my mouse is here. So I can put it to negative decibels. Let's try that. This is Mr. S's podcast. I'm going to be talking about copyright today. A, B, C, D. Okay, a really good way to lose marks is to have the background noise too loud, so make sure you adjust that. And your podcast, you are going to need to have some kind of background music because you're going to need to manipulate it. Okay, the next step for manipulating it, I'm going to have a 5-second introduction of music and then I want to start talking. So I get the time shift tool, move the clip to the 5-second mark, and now let's listen to that. This is Mr. S's podcast. Okay, but now we want to make it so the first 5 seconds of the background music is louder, and then it gets quieter when I'm talking, and then louder towards the end. What I'm actually going to do here is highlight the rest of this audio. and just delete it. Hit delete. Okay. So I'm going to put this track back to 0 decibels, which is what it was before. Okay, next tool I'm going to show you is the envelope tool. That's where my mouse is up here. When you click that, you now get blue lines at the top and the bottom of the track. And by the way, these tracks, the top one is the left speaker, bottom one is the right speaker. So that's your stereo sound. That's why they all have 2 identical tracks here for each layer. Okay, so I can with this envelope tool, I can manipulate the width or the height of the blue line. If it's at the very top and bottom, it's at 100% volume. But if I drag it in a bit, it gets quieter. So let's listen to that. Play. Okay, quiet. If it's like that, much louder. Okay, so we want to make it loud to start with and then get quieter where I start talking. So what we can do is click once. And when I click, you can kind of see these white dots here, or you will be able to on your screen. These white dots are keyframes, so we can create the dots here. We can create another set of dots further on, and then we can drag down the dots. So you can see it's loud here, and then at this point it starts getting quieter. And we'll do the same thing at the end. Click once, then click again to get it louder. Just drag that out there. Okay, so let's listen to that. This is Mr. S's pod. Still too loud. I want to be able to hear the background music, but yeah, you need to make sure it's quiet enough so it doesn't distract you from your voice. This is Mr. S's podcast. Yeah, I'll put that down a bit more. This is Mr. S's podcast. I might do a little bit more, but that'll do for now. Last thing we'll do, same thing with sound effects. If you want to add sound effects at some point, just drag it in on the grey bit. Use the time shift tool to choose the point that you want to start at, and then play. This is Mr. S's podcast. And then we could end that with another sound effect down here. When you guys are recording, you'll probably have a lot of layers, so a really easy way to manage this. See where my mouse is as an arrow? Click that, and then these are smaller, so it's easy to arrange. But of course, you're not going to get a good view of what to select if you do this. But anyway, I'll play the end of the recording. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. No! Again, the R is probably too loud, so I'll just make this a bit quieter. Oh, you like that one? Okay, so that's the basics. Last thing I'm going to show you is how to export. Once you save this as the Audacity file and you're ready to make it your audio file, you go File, Export. You can export as a WAV or an MP3. Don't really mind. I'll just go at MP3 for now. Just do it to the desktop. Call it task, whatever your task number is, and then your name. Click save. Just click OK. Alright, if this pops up, then you can just export it as a WAV. It'll probably mean it's not going to work. So, yep, export WAV, that's fine. Yep, save it as task 1, Mr. S. Yep, click OK, OK. And then on your desktop, the messy desktop, it'll be here somewhere anyway. Yeah, here we go. S is right today, F, G. Cool, so that should be all you need to know. Just a couple of tips before you start that. I said it before, make sure the background music isn't too loud. Second thing is, always listen over to what you've recorded. If I hear thumps or bumps or mistakes, you'll get less marks because you should be re-recording if you do make a mistake. And do little bits at a time, so if you do make a mistake, you don't have that much to redo. Okay, good luck.